All right, folks, welcome back to the Off-Air Voiceover Podcast. My name, of course, is Michael.
And I'm Jen. Hello, everyone.
And today, continuing with the trend of Season 4, getting off to a great start, we would like to welcome the one and only Mr. Chris Tester. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Hello, you two. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming. Just straight away with that voice, it's like, wow, bang. People are like, where did we get his details
Phoning it
from?
in
Let's
now.
book him.
Yeah.
So, Chris, honestly, like I said earlier, just thanks so much for taking the time. We know that you are very much a busy bee these days. So I think I actually sort of potentially warmed you up to this. Was it One Voice? Was it Vox?
They don't want to say they all blur, but they do all blur.
We're literally just having that same conversation now.
Be careful.
Talking about your many
Just as long
awards
as I've
now.
got one or both of you on my table come an awards ceremony, then I'm happy. Then I know I'm good to go. Then I know I'm going to have a great evening, regardless of how much I cry later.
Appreciate that. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just glad I sort of gave myself a second to say warmed you up, because I nearly said touched you up.
That's a different podcast, Michael.
It's a different podcast, and also both are a bit weird. So
yeah.
Well, I had both of us, we had the pleasure of being sat with you at Vox when you finally got that award.
Yeah, I
was
think
quite an emotional day.
everybody in the know was very, very relieved, and at the same time, I kind of shed my identity as best runner-up.
I think people would fight you for best runner-up as well. I don't think you can actually disclaim that quite so easily. But also, it was beautiful, and it wasn't just relief; it was just joy. We were so. You'd absolutely deserve it. It's not just that you've...
It was an amazing experience because of the people I was able to share it with. And I was overwhelmed and surprised by the level of the response. And, people coming up and hugging me afterwards and all of that kind of thing was very... It was very unexpected and, very kind of like overwhelming. But also... again, a huge testament to what a wonderful voiceover community and how I've, as an actor with a capital A, how I've never had that kind of experience in any other in any other industry. Like, obviously, you work on a stage show or you work on a project and you have this intense kind of family feel, but then you finish that project and you all move on, and that kind of thing. So it was a pretty unique experience. So thank you for being part of that.
Well, just before we let ourselves get carried away with ourselves talking, do you want to, just for those who don't know who you are and listen to this,
those living under a rock,
would you like to give an introduction to yourself?
Of course. So I have been a full-time voiceover since 2017, I would say. Before that, I was a stage actor. I graduated from drama school in 2008 and primarily exclusively worked in theatre. And then started doing voice acting on the side 2016. I think I did the Guy Michaels voiceover kickstart. It's kind of like free voiceover course was the way that I got into it. This was after, I think, 8-9 years trying to knock on the same agent doors, thinking that would be the only way in, and didn't get a response in those 8 years at all. So kind of thought, okay, that dream's gone. But I mean, to his credit, Guy's course, opened up a completely new chapter for me. So that was amazing. And then I'm more of a voiceover generalist, I would say, because of how I naturally sound. A lot of corporate, a lot of English as a second language kind of content was how I initially kind of like built on. But I do a bit of pretty much everything apart from animation, I would say. I mean, I've done the odd animation as well, but it's not something that I actively pursue. But
I can't think what the pig one's called.
Brother Pig, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. That's such a good animation.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's really just one guy, Dan.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Dan Brown is scripting them. And he's doing all of the animation.
I just saw that on Instagram. If anyone does want to check it out,
Brother Pig. So it is a meme that he has then taken and spanned into this episode upon episode, and it's been nominated for awards, won awards. It has its own big kind of social media following.
And Chris is
a thing. But I'm always surprised about how this career is I'm trying not to use the word volatile. Volatile. How changeful
the only
it is.
word.
Yeah, it is, and especially even in the last 18 months for me. I now predominantly work in a genre, audiobooks, that I swore for the first 6.5 years of my career I would never touch.
Yeah, I literally had that conversation with you, and you were like, "Nah, it is not for me, man."
God,
and then
that would be insane.
look at you
That
now.
would be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And I've just submitted my longest ever audiobook, which was 50 hours.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah, so that was quite crazy.
Talk us
Also,
through
had a lot
that
of
thought
French-
process, though.
A lot of French place names. So that was great. I mean, so what I mean about the actual processes.
Like, no, well, the U-turn that you made, like from not doing it or not wanting to do it to being like, this is actually a huge earner for me.
Okay, so the short answer was that there's always that one gateway gig. That maybe makes you go, oh, okay, well, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Crazy. And for me, it was, I received a call from I think it was the Bahamas. No, the Cayman Islands. Came up Cayman Islands as a mobile number, and I was like, this is obviously spam or something. But I don't know. For some reason, I decided to answer. And when I did answer, a gentleman said, hello, I've written this Bible on horse trading in the 1980s, and my son has told me that I need it made into an audiobook.
How could you resist?
And I've just Googled, I don't know what he Googled, but he just Googled something, not audiobooks, obviously. And I found you, and can you do it? And what's your rate? And so I was like, is this real? And then I quickly Googled the name that he gave me, and it was like, well, it is a real book. And so I quoted something ridiculous. I quoted, what was it, £600 per finished hour? Which is, probably 3-4 times. I mean, depending on the UK and the US market, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So a ludicrous figure. And he said yes far too quickly. So I was like, damn it, I should have said double that. And then I panicked about the fact that I had to do it. I have no knowledge of horses or trading, let alone a combination of the two.
Horse trading. I can't
trading.
I don't even understand what that is.
I know.
So we're talking about the physical horses themselves being traded, or like horse betting?
So a combination of the two. It was basically this gentleman's family, a whole lineage of Irish horse traders, and so how they'd kind of like built their bloodlines as an industry, how they'd invested in it, and then how the industry had responded to money from the Middle East going into the industry as well, and that had completely transformed it and made it into
We've got a new podcast now, all about horse trading.
And so the first thing was my way into it was thinking about, I'm interested in football. And then a similar thing about how these very small organizations that are all family run, essentially, then get bought and commercialized. So that was a way in psychologically. And then practically a way in was the wonderful Henry Willard, audio production editor, demo producer extraordinaire, who kind of guided me through the entire process of how I did it. And so I did it, and it was about 12, 13 hours, I think, and he was very pleased. The author was very pleased with the end result. And off the back of that, having been faced by it, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe don't discount it. If there's the right book, potentially. So that's when I knew what could. But the big change was that basically a lot of writers started contacting me from social media. In terms of the social media stuff that I do, it attracts a lot of different type of work. But the most work that it attracts is writers, self-published writers, especially who would come to me and say, "Yeah, could you do my book?" So I started looking at that. I did a lot of research about the US market, the UK market, because there is this huge price difference that you're not even aware of. The US market pays not quite double, but it depends. And you can't technically discuss exactly what the US market rates are, depending on the publisher. It's all a bit weird. So yeah, but that encouraged me to go to APAC, the Audio Publishers Association conference in New York last year. I met a lot of publishers firsthand there and have kind of built relationships. And in terms of repeat work and actual being able to kind of like build a client base and start to kind of shape what I wanted to do, that seems like an area where I've got a lot of tangible control, whilst at the same time a lot of my corporate work is bottoming out, essentially.
Yeah.
Is it?
I would say, I mean, the lower end corporate is almost completely gone. I mean, because of AI. I mean, that was inevitably going to be the case. And, you know, as someone who, when I first started out, worked on the Fiverr platform almost exclusively just to get money in and through. And a lot of that was very straightforward corporate stuff.
Yeah.
So that has almost completely disappeared in the last 18 months, I would say. And I always knew it would.
The Fiverr stuff or the corporate
the Fiverr stuff. I mean, there's still I'm still on there. I'm still with my advertised rates being what they always were. But I knew that I had to reinvest the money that I made from Fiverr in every other aspect of my business so that I could not become dependent on the one platform or the one way of getting. But even with a lot of my kind of direct corporate clients, there's less work, I would say.
Would you just on that there, would you say, is that for the more... we're doing the corporate work, is that more like it's more very generic, so there's no like real storytelling involved, not a great deal of emotion? Is it the more generic stuff?
I wouldn't even necessarily say that. I mean, yeah, sure, with more generic explainers and that kind of thing. Obviously, the kind of stuff where it's very quickly goes out of date, so it needs to be updated and replaced, and all of that kind of thing, which doesn't require storytelling to a great degree. That goes. But also, you know, I've seen some corporate stuff which does have an element of the emotional or some element of storytelling to it. And the AI can do a good enough job sometimes, I would say, if you get the right track. And if you don't really need to deal in a huge element of nuance, I'll certainly be open in saying I have received projects saying, oh, it's just a guide AI track. And, you know, a year ago I'd have been like, how bad it is. And there are a few times now where I've gone like, I mean, you could use that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because nearly all the corporate stuff I get, and Steph as well, they come with AI guide tracks, and they say, can you redo it? And Steph had one on Wednesday, and they wanted her to redo it, and I listened to it, and I was like, that's the AI guide track? She's like, yeah. I was like,
are you sure?
Oh, shit.
So, I mean, I know they're already... I mean, it wasn't like this is brand new information. I was just like... But like, Chris, I agree with you. Like, I was like, you know what? I mean, this was quite a big client, so I think the authenticity was important. But if that was more your local business, 100% that would have been AI.
Yeah, I mean, the genie's kind of out of the bottle, for better or for worse, with a lot of those things, regardless of... how legitimate, how ethically sourced a lot of these voices are. I mean, so many people just don't care. You would hope that they would, but then they don't.
But there seems to be a bit of a shift on that. I've made a note about that to talk about it later. But yeah, I agree.
I mean, generally, and there are a lot of certainly the smaller corporate clients that I have. I mean, they're being swallowed by the same platforms that initially just did the AI voiceover. You know, the AI voiceover then becomes like, oh, but we can also, thanks to Sora 2 or whatever the hell next, is like, oh, we can actually produce the video almost entirely itself because they want to become the one-stop shop for absolutely everything. They'll provide the music, they'll provide the voiceover, they'll provide the script. Yeah. And it won't necessarily be amazing, but it'll be good enough, and it'll cost you a tenth of the rate.
For the things that are getting churned out, like, a lot. You know, it's the short turnaround.
So, off the back of that was one of the reasons why I was like, okay, well, maybe the audiobook thing is something to actively pursue. Firstly, yes, the acting kind of skill set, storytelling, that kind of ticks a lot of boxes. Also, the industry telling me stuff like, people coming out and reaching out to me for that particular kind of thing meant, well, maybe that's something I should lean more into.
Yeah.
And also being aware of you're always looking for added value. And whereas nobody really cares who voices their commercial and who voices their corporate, people care. People are starting to care who's in their video games. And people are starting, and people are caring to a degree. Some people are caring, like, who voices their audiobooks, who voices their stories as well. There's still that association.
We
talked about this with Kristen, didn't we, last season? She said, we had a conversation, sorry, Jen, to interrupt you just before.
Yeah, it's fine, Kristen Pavey, you mean?
She was saying that, there is a frustration, like, so Disney or whoever may have a movie that's coming out, and it's a great opportunity for really talented actors to get into the booth and voice those characters, but they'll give it to the A-lister because of the name, and it draws, and she said it's ridiculous. You don't even see these people, and they voice a character largely in their own voice, fine, but the only reason why they're cast is because they are an A-list name that will draw more numbers to the movie, where actually they are not the best fit for the role.
But I do feel like with audiobooks and audio dramas to a certain extent, that there's a lot of passion behind that, isn't there? The listeners, there's a lot of passion. And if you find a narrator who tells that story, like people, real fans of that, like you, I'm not being very articulate, but I just think people really are passionate about that. It makes such a big difference if you're listening to somebody for hours upon end.
Yeah.
There's such a skill behind it.
If you can buy that emotional investment, that doesn't mean it has to go full parasocial in terms of a relationship.
No.
But I think people are looking for performance that they're aligned with. That certainly makes a big difference. And so being aware, because I do have a social media following, that's something that I can leverage. Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
It means that for the projects that I am a part of, I can promote them outside and potentially gain a larger audience for both them and for me at the same time. That's great, wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, all the different kind of like niches, so you can get the variety, I find, in a lot of different ways. So I do that is what I am appreciating about this particular change. I'm still doing video games, I'm still doing corporate, I'm still doing commercial. It's just those things have, dissipated somewhat. For a variety of different kind of like reasons, but everybody has different experiences because of how they started out and where they started out from, and all of that kind of thing. So I'm only speaking for myself.
I do think though, like there was, I saw a thing the other day that said that Sora 2, its usage is down 99%.
Okay,
and the reason being, I think it's because the idea of it just being this meme machine, and it just churns out like and then so they did the Star Wars stuff, and then it got copyrighted, and then obviously in the end Disney joined forces and invested like $1 billion or $2 billion into it, and then apparently after that it's kind of tanked a bit because it is literally nothing more than just a meme machine. And I think also, I mean, this is largely personal opinion, but also seeing things that I feel like makes me believe I might have a point. I do think there is a slight transition towards content that does have a human element to it that is kind of being desired a bit more. So I think maybe with the audiobooks, I don't know how you might feel about it, but because there's such an element on, because it would be easier and cheaper for publishers just get a decent AI voice, blast it all the way through, it'll cost us a fraction of the cost and send it out. But they won't. They'll get someone like you with the skills and the credibility because you bring so much more to it. And I think that aspect is being seen a little bit more across some other brands. I mean, look at recently, not Pepsi, sorry. Have you seen that girl on TikTok with the Dr. Pepper advert? She went mad viral. She did this video about a month ago. She just put up a fun, Dr. Pepper, I've made a theme song for you. And she goes, and she does this little jingle. Well, it went crazy viral, got like 30 odd million views. Dr. Pepper got on the action. And then they released the actual commercial earlier this week. And people are saying that basically, again, it comes back to that, rather than using, because AI is being used in adverts in various different ways, but the intense positive reaction of the human element of all of that was so profound that a lot of people are saying that is kind of still what makes people tick more than anything else.
Well, it's about knowing how to demonstrate your value. And in an audiobook context, I have a clear idea of how I can demonstrate that. with video games, I have a clear idea, depending on the project, how I can demonstrate that, because they always require a degree of emotion and also cognition of the text. You need to understand what it is that you're saying and why you're saying it, and also, how you create suspense or anything. Whereas with more disposable kind of content or some corporate stuff, you just need to be clear to be understood, or it can be prompted much more easily to do. Whereas with a long form thing, the actual act of the prompting is going to take so much longer as a result. It's actually you're just paying somebody else probably a similar rate to do it. They go like, great, and now it's an AI voice still that we've had to kind of micromanage all the way through. So there's literally, we've not even saved any kind of money. I mean, that doesn't mean people aren't going to continue to try to, vomit out this kind of stuff, and it'll continue to get better, but because it won't understand what it's saying, it's already nice sounding. You can have, I'm sure you could have, any celebrity's voice illegally, narrate whatever book that you would like. So it kind of has to go beyond that. But looking at opportunities for added value, as sickening as a phrase as that really is, I very much come from having a romantic idea of, like, when I trained at drama school, social media still didn't really exist. And so the whole idea of, like, I let my work do the talking. No one needs to know about me or anything. And now I've become not the complete opposite of that, because but like I do post consistently. And I'm very clear about what it is that I do and what it is that I like in terms of work and what I'm interested in as an artist. And so to a degree, that is a kind of like stripping away of people maybe more familiar with that work than they are about my actual work, which can be a bit weird. But I think it's an interesting thing to kind of balance.
Definitely. And I think in the time that I've known you, I was trying to work this out, maybe like 3 or 4 years. It's been a little while now. Like pretty much the whole time I've been in voiceover, like you were one of the first people that I kind of saw online. And I mean, not that you didn't have a big following then, and thought, this guy's interesting, he's good, I'll latch onto him and learn all his stuff. And
just one of the things, time that Jen
I know, absolutely, I've been chipping away for 4 years. But I think one of the things I always really admired about you was, obviously you're very talented, but you've always had that big business acumen. And you've always been incredibly open about that. So the YouTube channel that you created, you were always very explicit about, you didn't hide anything. You were always very authentic and genuine. And you were one of the only places that I found that when I was first starting out. And I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and people talking abstract about their work and what they want to achieve. And you were always very open about that. And I think everything is all, I don't know, it's been amazing to see your meteoric rise. And I think, I know, sorry, but I think a lot of that is around
I think that's
that
just me
consistency.
digesting my lunch right now. That's all that is. That's like gurgling noise that is easily confused with a meteoric
sure,
rise.
Okay.
Sorry, Jen, go on.
No, that was it. That was my slightly embarrassing ramble.
With the social, obviously, the social media thing is, I think you have to be one of the most seen voice actors on social media with the followers that you've got across all of them. But like,
sorry, everyone.
From the off, was like, did you have a clear strategy of like, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it consistently, and that's the game plan.
No, not at all. So
just diversify.
I had no fucking idea what I was doing at all. But what I would say is, it's about reframing. So for me, it was never about. I mean, did I pursue, like, how could I use social media? Of course I did. Like, we all have looked at that and you scroll early enough into my Instagram feed and you will see a lot of videos that are not very funny and me trying desperately to mime along to things going, it's a viral thing. So, yeah, it wasn't for want of trying. But for me, it was a reframing in terms of the kind of actor that I want to be, the type of creative that I wanted to be, and then it was going like, okay, like what should I be doing as a voice actor who thinks of themselves primarily as an actor first and foremost?
Yeah.
And that's craft. People will keep telling you about craft, especially in an AI context now. It's the differentiator is, but I've got the craft. Well, what does that actually mean? It means that I've got a process and an understanding of myself as an instrument so that I can professionally use myself to engage my own emotionality as well as the technique and all of that kind of stuff, and be able to do it on demand, take direction and do it repeatedly. But in terms of my regular craft, things that I weren't doing was I was never warming up my voice. I was never warming myself up emotionally in any respect. And I wasn't exposing myself to new material. I wasn't reading other kind of things, like outside of my own kind of interests.
Yeah.
So my thing became, first of all, the social media content that I make, which is me recording myself cold reading pretty much anything and everything, was a form of accountability.
Yeah.
It was a form of accountability. If I post it publicly, then I make myself accountable by it being a public act. If I stop doing it, more people will be aware of it, even though nobody really cares. It was also because it happened during COVID, and it was a way of me. My mum, both my parents, have always been incredibly supportive of my acting career, and over COVID. Because they mainly came to see me in shows, and then they couldn't do that, and we couldn't see each other or anything. So it was literally a way of me being able to post me acting, and my mum see it, and then she would possibly give me notes like ends of words, Chris, thought to the end of the line. That kind of thing, but in a lovely, supportive way. But that's who my mum is. And I wouldn't have it any other way, Mary. So it was that. It was that for emotional connection. There was no stakes other than that kind of thing. And I did that for about 6 months before anything, quote unquote, popped.
Yeah.
But I did get like that was kind of like an active process of like what do I care about? Like, as much as I've done training with the likes of people like Nancy Wolfson on commercial reads, absolutely amazing. I've worked with so many amazing voiceover coaches.
Yeah.
But I care to a degree about that stuff, but it's not what I'm emotionally invested in. It doesn't excite me. The money attached to that's a different thing. Yeah. But then it's always, well, what's the money for? Well, to live in luxury. Obviously, which of course I don't. But it would also be to have creative independence to make even more stuff. Because my dream would be like to have my own theatre company where I would like cast my mates in plays, cast myself in plays. Every third play, I wouldn't be the lead.
You've got to be fair.
Only once a year.
That's all because you're busy writing yourself in the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Or commissioning writers who are far more talented. Yeah, no, that kind of thing. I'm not going to like stick around with any of the difficult stuff. But my dream would be that, and without kind of like financial concerns, just work with people that excite me and who feel as if I'm elevated by and working with material that elevates me in that kind of way. And so that was a really roundabout way of doing it. But once that did happen and there was traction, then you got to get canny about it. And so that is why I will lean into certain genres or certain things if something goes off, or if there is a particular internet meme or thing. Well, maybe you want to lean on that, and maybe you don't. Or even on a political side. For whatever reason, I'm not as eloquent about, and so therefore I don't grandstand about a lot of the things overtly that I maybe believe in. But what I will very clearly do is I will select material where the message is very explicit about what I believe in and why it's kind of particularly timely to do that. And people
would you do that overtly, just in terms of like, cutting yourself off from a...
I mean, like
both of you, really.
I mean, for myself personally, yeah. But I mean, there's always that's not a yes or no.
So it's a spectrum.
There's always a grey area of terms of like,
definitely.
I've talked about working on the Fiverr platform, which is based in Israel, and lots of people had lots of questions about.
That's a double whammy problem for a lot of people, isn't it? It's Fiverr.
Yeah, exactly.
And the political side of it as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, there's not like, I don't want to just be like, I'm taking this kind of like stance and I'm everything else is completely black and white at all. But being able to have some autonomy in what you say and how you show. But what I don't do is, like, obviously I've done the odd kind of like talk about social media and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to set myself up as a social media coach. And that's no discredit to anybody who does do that kind of stuff and offer that support. I'm just kind of also acknowledging that there is an awful lot of luck involved in it, really.
I do think I've noticed as well. When it comes to social media, I do struggle to some degree not to some degree, to a big degree, with consistency.
Yeah,
and I've found consistency in a personal passion project, which is football. And what I've started to do is, I think one of my issues I had with social media is only posting when I felt like there was something of relevance to post. Where actually I see these messages sometimes like everything is content. I think I don't think that's necessarily applicable across the board. Like with football, if there's something that's gone on, there is content there. In voiceover, I struggle to find the connection with the same message.
Okay.
What I have started to become more comfortable with is just expressing myself without really overthinking it. Like, and I'm trying to articulate an example. I can't think of one, but generally, I'd only post on social media if there was something very specific I want to talk about, and after that, I just pull away. Whereas now, I want to try and engage a bit more. And also, as well, you mentioned there about content, I think, which is interesting. So essentially, when you're talking about posting, thinking about what works is, because I know a lot of people, what they do is they just post stuff that they enjoy, that they like, and that's it. Where it's more about, no, you've got to diversify. What does your audience like? If something resonates, do you go down that rabbit hole and keep doing it anyway, even if you don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it? Or
there's a fine line. So an example of that working brilliantly is something like Warhammer, which I do love. That's easy anyway, because there's so much material because of the books, especially. But I don't just do Warhammer stuff because it's very easy to become like, oh, he's just the Warhammer guy, and that's all that he kind of like does. So I kind of make sure, okay, one every couple of weeks now. But it's very easy to veer into something else entirely. I do a lot of video game speeches, but I'll be honest, there's still a lot of video game writing where it's kind of like, how much can I shout? And if I've kind of like, unless something really interests me, even if it's not necessarily the material, but it's just kind of going like, there are two different ways of doing this, neither of which may be right, but maybe playing the opposite is the interesting thing and the exercise and the idea, then that's making it interesting for me. Yeah. Even if the material itself, I'm like, I don't care about this because I don't think it doesn't do anything for me at all in any kind of way. I think it's kind of like being aware of those things and knowing when to lean into it, but or even with the romantasy, it's like a huge thing. It's like romance is the biggest growing kind of genre in audiobooks right now. And it's kind and it's kind of striking that balance between, there are guys who just have the sexy voice, whatever that is. It's not that, but you know, who like, and they make amazing careers out of that.
Yeah.
I've done some romance stuff, and I also do have a pseudonym for dark romance kind of like stuff, which I didn't really understand what it was until I'd already signed a 3-book contract for something, and then I was like,
Whoa.
Wow, okay, that's quite dark.
Do you feel uncomfortable doing that? Are you kind of okay with it?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Does your pseudonym have like a character? Are you like a different person reading those books?
No.
It's just you.
No. Okay, sexy times. No, God no.
Oh God, that was scary.
Yeah, that would be scary. That would not be sexy in any way, shape, or form. You learn very quickly how to find out. Because you can't read an entire book before saying yes or no. Yeah. So you need to find out what keywords to search for very quickly to go, okay. Where does consent come up here?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pick a word, any word.
There's just so much stuff I don't think about.
Yeah, because otherwise then you say yes to something and then you get 250 pages in and you go like, oh, this is potentially non-consensual. Okay, that's not for me.
Yeah,
that's not a judgment thing, but that's not for me.
Yeah, I would say it is a judgment thing actually on my behalf.
Yeah. But so that is also a tricky thing in terms of like placement. But at the same time, know that there is an audience there. And
actually, a bit of a sidebar. Sorry, just to interrupt you. And I know, Michael, you've got a question on this, but I have listened to a couple of books that are a bit sexy, and I suddenly thought, how horrifying would it be if it was like one of my mates or like someone that I knew doing the voice, and you'd be like, oh, like it would be I'd be like throwing off the earphones, like, oh my god, no, that would be too intimate.
I've been listening to you all this time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Ugh. Sorry. I mean, no offense, but it'd be weird.
I mean, it would be. I find it very disturbing as well.
But that must happen. That must happen. There must be people, like, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I'm sure if you're working in the industry, you make absolutely sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Has Michael been tempted into this particular subgenre that I'm really interested in?
Well, basically, so what I've done is I've started doing my own sleep stories.
Okay.
And I thoroughly love it. And I had a message on Wednesday, and somebody asked me if I would consider doing erotic novels.
Mm-hmm. Even the way you said that was erotic novels. Like you were pairing. It's an audition right there.
When I do my sleep stories, I'm very close, and it's all nice and friendly, whatever. But
it's all nice and friendly.
That is not nice and friendly.
Until it gets erotic.
Yeah. No, that's not a very good example, at all. But no, it just means like my voice goes into its lower range and it does its thing. Anyway, so she said about erotic novels. And I said to Steph about it. I said, how would you feel about that? She laughed about it. She didn't really have an opinion. And I'm sort of like, it kind of goes back to where we started with the audiobooks. My headspace is now where yours once was, in that. For me, I was like, never going to do audiobooks. They take far too long. And I'm not an organised person by default. I have to really work hard to try and stay organised. So for me, it was like, try and do the commercial. Like corporate work, explainers is still largely my bread and butter, or promo videos or brand promotional films. But I had to do, like I was forced. I did this massive project before Christmas. It was about 400,000 words, and it was for a mental health project for Oxford University. And basically, it was like for people with like severe mental issues, and it's a course. And what they've done is they've put it all into audio format, and then they're going to make animations. Anyway, my point being is, it was the first time that I'd experienced doing something of that magnitude.
That vast, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, as I got into it, I was like, I actually really enjoy this. For me, in that instance, it was because I enjoyed the subject matter, learning about it, the things that I was saying, and I enjoy reading. I consume a lot of audiobooks and whatnot. So then it just got me thinking. I thought, am I dismissing a whole income stream just because I thought it was going to be too difficult?
Potentially. I mean, it's a very different rhythm of life. Because you're not hopping onto your emails all of the time, and maybe not sending, doing lots of toing and froing on, I've got to do an audition here and a demo clip here and all of this so much. You will have half your day. I generally try and do about 4 hours of recording a day, which is about twice as much as I would normally have done.
Yeah.
It would have been like on a good day, 1 to 2 hours, unless I've got a directed session which is longer. Whereas now it's kind of like a 4-hour minimum, and that's a different thing. But there is also, if you get into the right book, that can be amazing. That can be absolutely phenomenal, and that doesn't mean that absolutely everything that you have to voice is going to completely align with all of your values and kind of set your soul alight. But, I mean, when that does happen, it can be amazing. And even just in terms of, especially with non-fiction stuff, I find it's because you don't have to do characterizations. You can do prep, but you don't need to have read it thoroughly. So, in actual fact, I find kind of cold reading it mainly, it helps. And it feels, because it sounds as if you're kind of learning or making discoveries as you go. That requires acting. That requires a technique of spontaneity to it. But I like that, and feeling as if I'm being educated in that kind of thing, or being lost in a story, or being in a series of books. So you get to live with a character for a long period of time. So it becomes less about how many voices can I just pull out and do? Which, has its own kind of like technical challenge. So it's a very different rhythm. But I do find it very enjoyable now.
There's one thing. Michael and I have talked about this before. Like when you haven't had a recording session for a little while, maybe a couple of days or something, and you feel like you're pretending to be a voice actor because you're sending your emails, you're doing the social media, whatever. You feel like you're playing acts. But when you're doing audiobooks, it's like you're recording all the time. So you're like, oh no, I'm definitely a voice actor because I'm recording all the time. It's a legitimacy.
Because I'm literally putting the hours in. I mean, for better and for worse.
I mean, it's bullshit, but that's.
But I mean, that's why the social media output for me as well was like, even during the quiet times, it was like, well, I could record something, I could try something different, or try something in a different accent, or try something with a different characterization, or something like that. Then there's a way of doing it. But I mean, it is good because I do find it as well with audiobooks. There's a greater understanding that you don't necessarily have to be a chameleon. I think the best audiobook narrators, actors, performers, rather than it being read by, it's performed by them. So there's kind of like, there's a suspension of disbelief that not every single character is going to sound radically different. Nor does it have to sound radically different. It's just so that you can discern, and there are, sometimes it can be quite subtle depending on the material and that kind of thing. But also it means that there's if you want to try something, that's fine too, whether or not it's a broader characterization or that kind of thing, the kind of thing that maybe you wouldn't want to get away with in a video game, doing an NPC, you can do because there's that greater suspension of disbelief.
Okay.
So that as a kind of like a learning curve has been really great to kind of discover. Yeah.
With on your social media, with your posting and sort of consistently doing these monologues and these performances, was that largely geared towards this is the sort of work I want to be doing on a more consistent basis? And
I mean, in terms of the selection of material, this is the kind of stuff that I really like. Mm-hmm. Whether or not I'll be hired to do more of it is another thing entirely.
Well, it was you about being seen as a performer.
Yeah,
is that was the goal?
Yeah.
And then do more performance-based work as opposed to commercials, etc.
Yeah. I have got commercial work from the stuff that I post on occasion. If my natural voice kind of fits, then people have hired me off the back of that. But it's more to do with my choice and relationship to the material, and that has kind of like defined why people have reached out to me for certain kind of stuff, and that tends to be more long form stuff and / or video game kind of characterizations, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Would you say in this day and age, I mean, I think this, I do think this is a thing, but with things changing like AI, would you say that now more than ever it's important to look to diversify as opposed to just doing the corporate work, the commercial work and whatnot, and try and expand what you can do within the industry because of things that are changing?
I mean, I think it's always like you need to keep working on yourself and whatever your performance skills are and your flexibility. Yeah. I mean, how that looks, in the future, it's like it's tricky to know because everybody has different skill sets that will lean into particular kind of like genres. But yeah, if you're just because you're comfortable now, have some awareness of what is the health looking like of my current client base? How, in terms of their day-to-days, are they being threatened by any developments or tariffs or sanctions or anything else? And how would that, it's great working with all of this US publishers, unless certain political aspects, kind of escalate, and it's like, we can't use any British narrators right now. And in which case it's like, fuck, right.
I mean, but actually, genuinely, on that, do you, because it's just, fuck knows what is happening. And
yes.
Because Canadian voices have been hit in that respect, haven't they? I don't know about the book world, but in terms of corporate and stuff, I do wonder whether that is going to have an impact.
It could. You don't know to a degree. I mean, obviously, we're selling a digital good and not a physical good. So technically, we're not subject to tariffs in the same kind of way. But I mean, you can't worry about absolutely everything because you just become totally overwhelmed. But that's why you keep you keep everything going. So like as something like Fiverr has gone away, I still direct market, but I don't direct market. I direct market much more selectively.
Yeah.
And it's much easier, I find, in certain genres than in other genres.
When you say selectively, how do you mean exactly? Like in terms of a specific type of work, you don't market for everything.
Yeah, I don't market for everything, but I also, there was definitely a stage where about 3 or 4 years ago where I had a set number of emails that I was going to send out a week, and I would bore people. I'm sure I've bored both of you at different times about like, oh yeah, this is what my target of emails was.
I've actively sought out the information. You weren't boring me.
But yeah, I had a set thing, and like my job of working on the business as well as in the business was to kind of like hit that target and send out those emails, regardless of how qualified the leads were. Whereas now I'm kind of like, if I come across someone who I really think needs to know I exist, then I will take the time to send out that email and know what the follow-up would be. But
that just feel like that's because that's where you're at in your own business though now. Like I think somebody starting out or, newer to it, I think is still...
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from, I've been full-time 8 years. So there's a degree of that's what I bring to it.
Yeah, you've put in that time as well, haven't you?
I think that's a key word, that. I mean, it's a big one, business. I think that's for quite a few... I'm probably generalising here, but I think you potentially see quite a lot of voice actors who are really keen to get into maybe video games or whatever, and consistently look at the performance side of things, and there's a big part of being a successful voice actor which entails all the business aspects of it.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got your
the sexy bits that we're all really excited about.
Yeah.
You make it
Tell me more about SEO.
But it is, it's like you can't, like, it's, I guess, because for a lot of people getting into voiceover, it's a hobbyist thing. That they try and get work via doing stuff online or for free, whatever. It's seen as a hobby. And I don't know if that therefore that mindset means they don't see it as a proper business. But actually, if you really want to push yourself, you have to sort of fully go in with a business mindset and treat it as so.
Yeah, I think it hits on either end. So I think there are also quite a lot of very well-established talent who I would say were very prominent when I first entered into the industry, who are now going, everything's changed. Why has everything changed? This is ridiculous, or this is what comes from a saturation in the industry.
Yeah.
There are too many people that have been let in, and I get it. But the frustration of like the same old things don't work.
Yeah.
And just as I've witnessed people kind of go like, oh, I can't be reliant on the same networks and getting the same kind of stuff anymore because there are more voices out there and it's more competitive and there are these other platforms and these other ways of working. I need to be conscious to myself of like, yes, well, that will continue to change. What I did when I started to get out, when I started to, properly get traction within the industry might not necessarily be what happens now for someone just starting or someone just in the early kind of like stages. And this is again where the ethical conversations around AI and everything are so prominent and important, which is on the one hand you want to say like, oh, inclusivity is great. It's really important that we have a greater variety of voices and it's not just the same people being hired and the same people making artistic decisions and everything like that. But if AI completely cuts the legs out of people even getting into the industry or thinking that it's viable in any way in the first place, then there's no one to kind of inherit that except those people who can afford to.
Yes,
Which, so it becomes like, oh, isn't inclusivity great, fantastic for this industry where you need to already have the bank of mum and dad to be able to see you through. So that's a kind of a tricky balance as well at the same time. But the business side of things, there are people who I know who don't care about their websites and they don't care about SEO and are still doing really well. I
would say those people are few and far between. Though.
But maybe it's just kind of like they got really good on a couple of pay-to-play platforms and they took enough of their clients.
I mean, if it works for them, then well done.
They took enough clients off or they've got a great network of agents. I mean, this is mainly US-based talent where you can have multiple agents. And they're kind of like good. Whereas other people, it's kind of like, no, I've got to build it all from the ground up because if I'm not doing it, no one else is kind of doing it either.
Well, I've said in the past, is like my career largely was built off the back of Voice 123. Like when I started getting into voiceover on a full-time basis around about back into 2018, early 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit and things sort of just topsy-turvy. But then the end of 2020, I decided to sign up on one of the premium plans on Voice 123, and it just took off.
Mm-hmm.
I did really, really well off it. And off the back of that, I reinvested in better equipment. I got a lot of clients. But then I realised I was going down that road of relying on it a little bit, because it becomes so good for me.
Oh, yeah.
That I just kind of sat and waited for the auditions to come in. My conversion rate was largely the same all the time. And I got complacent. That's a good word.
Yeah.
So then I started to, a couple of years ago, really started to change things and start to think more about, the business side of things and just be more proactive. So then, so website, SEO. My website now is my biggest place where I get my work from.
Great.
So I guess it is that thing, isn't it? It's just, and now I think social media for me is the missing link in trying to sort of be more present on, I mentioned LinkedIn before. I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. I really, really, really do.
Oh yeah, me too. But that also comes from I did it quite consistently for about 18 months, 2 years, and it was and I was getting like a great return on investment with it.
Yeah.
And then I started to get less of a return on investment, and I was like, oh god. And you say everything that you want to say about voice acting, so I'm kind of out of that. It's like, if you want to talk about, what's the best way of directing a client, tell me less. I've made that video 5 times. Zoom, what is it? Tell me more. Source Connect, I hate it. I've subscribed for 3 years. Anyway, let's move on with our lives.
Are you subscribed? Do you get many people ask you for Source Connect?
There are just enough to make it worthwhile, but I resent it.
I've had one person ask me for Source Connect.
I resent it. But anyway, with something like LinkedIn or whatever, I think it also comes to do with the switch that I've been making, into audiobooks. There are less people who are active in the audiobook industry, that they prefer, the vast majority of people prefer an email than they do to, let's be liking the right post and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it has value, but again, it depends on you identifying
such a good point
what are the clients.
Yeah.
So the clients that you want to go after, are they hanging it on LinkedIn? Because if they're not, and you know something else that works, then do the other thing that works. You don't have to be everywhere all of the time. And I'm kind of like, I'll post once or twice on LinkedIn maybe right now, but I'm not just going to go no, I need to lean in hard on the quantity just for the sake of it, because it just becomes deathly, really, and that's not a lot of fun, because I am interested more in having an actual conversation with someone rather than going that's a really great point about when hiring a freelancer.
It just makes me want to vomit.
And everybody's kind of nodding and circle jerking essentially, and you just go what have we learned here today? Absolutely fucking nothing. Great.
Yeah.
We've
all piled on.
Yeah.
Have you heard of dead internet theory?
No.
Dead internet theory was this thing that was mentioned some years ago. I don't know who by. It basically said we'll come to a point where the internet is so awash with AI that over 50% of your interactions are not even with people anymore. And they reckon that we hit that point about a year ago. And I think for me, LinkedIn is the definition of it.
It is. This is the thing.
Really?
God. It's like on other platforms, it's kind of like, well, that's toxic, so I won't go there.
Yeah.
Whereas LinkedIn's kind of toxic in a different way, where it's kind of like, I don't necessarily think that you're real. And if you are real, I'm very worried.
Really? Oh my god!
I'm kind of praying that you aren't, because if you are, then I don't understand how you how you're upright, how you can operate a keyboard, all of these things. It's quite miraculous. I mean, well done you, but also what? So there are those aspects as well. But what you're saying in terms of the football content, that kind of thing. I think a way in of if there is something that you're passionate about, which isn't voiceover explicitly. Voice acting related, but which allows you to use your instrument, which allows you to use your acting skills. It's just you talking passionately about what it is. Then that can be a great way in of doing something rather than going, I'm creating voiceover centric content.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of. Sorry, Jen, I've done it again.
Go for it.
I was just going to say that I think that's kind of where my headspace was at. Obviously, it's important to, because I thought I wish I could post this much content about football in voiceover because it would probably be more beneficial to my career. But actually, taking a step back, I think I totally agree with what you just said. I think coming back to that idea of we're living in a time of authenticity, people like to get to know people. People obviously buy off people. That's a well-known sales line.
Yeah.
And I do think if you do actually get known in your own circle of talking about something that you enjoy, you are still putting your foot forward as this is who I am. If you have a link, like I've got a link to on my socials, like this is my work page, and I don't sell my work in any way, shape or form. I just like make it known that's what I do. Anyway, but I do think there is a thing there, like because you're talking more passionately and there's no pressure, you're not doing anything, you're just being your total authentic self, which you should always be anyway. You don't really realise where that could potentially go.
Well, each one of my social media videos always ends with, this is where my website is. It doesn't go, buy now.
Yeah.
Need a voiceover. Or any of that kind of stuff. But it's just like, but I am here.
You slip it in.
So here it is. And it's true, like, if you can think of some kind of, like, Manchester United-centric content that you really want to make, or whatever, then that could be amazing because there's nobody else that's doing that.
And how much would you want to be associated with Man U? Like in terms of like you be the voiceover guy for Man U, and then people, if you do start to build up a following, then they know you as that guy, that voiceover who talks about Man U. Like,
I mean, like in a space of what I started doing it properly on TikTok. First, I think it was the first week of Jan. I think it was it was that day after my birthday. It was the 10th of Jan. I've only done about 15 posts and I've amassed like another 400 or 500 followers off it on TikTok.
Yeah.
So then I started a YouTube page doing slightly longer form videos, like 15, 20 minutes. Then I clip those up and then put those out onto the socials. And it's the clips that generate the views and the follows.
Yeah.
But I just thought, I just love it. And because there's no pressure, I just do it because I enjoy it. But I have had people ask me questions about my work. Have you worked with football teams? Would you be able to do this? Like, and they give me like, super low ball offer and I've politely rejected.
Yeah.
But it just got me thinking, I was like, actually, without even thinking about it, you're promoting yourself. And you're not even doing it in the space where you think you need to promote. You know what I mean? So I guess it's just opening my eyes more to being creative with how you present yourself, how you market, how you potentially find works. That's always the end goal.
Yeah, because, I mean, you want to... and then the best way is to be able to kind of have this kind of pincer movement of, like, you're directly reaching out to exactly the type of people who have already been warmed up by the content that you didn't even realise that you were aware that they'd seen. Yeah. So for something like the Warhammer or for various video games or certain other projects, I won't have known and they won't explicitly have mentioned, we've seen your social media posts or anything until we get into a session and they'll say like, oh, well, this is the video that we liked, in particular. And then it'll be like, okay, right, fine.
Wow.
So people won't, yes, you will... you will get people who have no idea about how much voiceover costs or anything, and so you will get lots of lowball kind of like stuff. But then this is where the entrepreneurial mindset comes in and goes like, if you just want a poem to your dog, there's kind of like, rather than like, let's get into a back and forth of, what can you afford? I'm like, well, there's Cameo there, or there's Fiverr here. If you want that, then the rates are there. And you can just press buy, and I can do it. And that's what the rate is. Great, thanks, cheers. And like that, I've essentially got auto replies on those kind of things. So I'm not going to get into the weeds about negotiations. It's like, if you want me to do that, then that's great. And that's kind of accidental. It's not the main aim of what I'm doing here. But if those things come my way, or it's like a one-person kind of dev thing, and they just want to try and put together kind of like something, it's like, it's great, but it's through this platform, and it's fine because I don't want to be chasing your invoice for 75 quid. I don't. There are other things that I want to be focusing on.
I love it as well that it is the invoices at 20, 30, 50, 75 quid if they ask them. They're the ones that want the most.
Yeah.
Pay the least.
And you're just like, what do I do now?
and then they don't pay on time either.
Yeah.
So... I feel like the ones that want the urgency, I feel like, this urgency that you're asking of me, is there any way we can put that level of urgency into when you pay me? Like,
just the basic stuff.
Can this be...
That's also been another nice thing that I've learned from the audiobook side of things, is like with the self-published stuff, is like you can ask for 50% up front. I mean, you can ask for however what your terms are, but,
would you recommend doing that for people who are interested?
For self-published authors, my God.
To be fair, that massive project I did, I asked for 50% up front. Once I delivered the first, 100,000, 150,000...
You were like, okay. I need something.
Yeah, they paid the 50%, so they were good about that.
Yeah, but it's true because you also need to take the time out in your calendar to give that the space without going like, oh, but there are other stuff that might pay more quickly to make sure that I can do the next Tesco shop or whatever. So, so there's a bit more of a kind of like a balance. So just be kind of clear about what terms it is that you have, and it's good.
Just out of interest, I know we've literally just about to hit an hour. Jen said you have to go soon, but just out of interest, I wanted to ask you: as things are shifting the way they are in the industry, would you consider doing an AI voice clone of your own that you had more control
I already looked into it, mate, and it was a shit show. I mean, now I think I can say with absolute 100% hindsight. What was it? The great J. Michael Collins said it'll actually be beneficial for those people who have not dabbled at all in that. I think it looks better to go like there is not an AI version of my voice available, guaranteed. Okay, I think that purity is
like
better.
Exclusivity.
Yeah. I talked with a variety of different platforms about 2-3 years ago, including 11 Labs, about like how is this viable? How might this work? That ended up with maybe for like a 3-month period where my voice was available on 11 Labs for certain content with certain provisos and caveats, but it was like it wasn't financially justifiable in any way, shape or form. And you still can, even though they put safeguards in, it wasn't really. And like there were ways around it and that kind of thing. And so now, whereas it was kind of like, well, maybe this is a great tool and maybe there would be a great way behind it. Essentially, I don't think the developers are aligned. Like their priority isn't facilitating voice actors' careers. Their priority is like how many billions, if not trillions, can we end up selling this amazing technology, regardless of how it was sourced or created, onwards. Because it's like, for me, what would be an absolute no-brainer is kind of like, could you do kind of like an autocorrect thing? So I've said one word wrong throughout an entire audio book. So you've got my performance, which is obviously immaculate, but I've said this one word wrong for whatever kind of like reason. To get kind of like an AI to go like, well, we can autocorrect that. That to me,
you know how fucking ridiculous that would sound, though. That'd be hilarious.
But it's like the fact that that's not readily available at all and doesn't look like it would be. It's not of sufficient interest for someone to develop yet as a thing. But I've never seen it. I know there are some companies trying to do it incredibly ethically and having negotiations and all of that kind of thing. I've just not really seen it work well. I've yet to, see people, really benefit from it.
Yeah, so we had Rolf on in the last season, and we talked about it. And at the time of us recording, which was pretty much the arse end of last year, he said that the AI function on Voice 123 had not been used in a serious way. Like 3 people had used it, 2 of them were friends, and they were just making mock voices of their own so they could make like funny, send funny voice clips over. He said, so no one's taking it seriously. It's there to use, no one does. Then I saw a guy on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, I've forgotten who he was, and he started to break down his relationship with 11 Labs, and he basically said that one of the problems is that if people sign up, they get 10,000 free credits to begin with on a free plan, of which the voice actor's not compensated anything. So then he started to look at the numbers on a longer. I can't remember how he concluded it, but it wasn't massively positive. But he wasn't coming off the platform, and I kind of.
But he wasn't coming off the platform.
No, that's why. Why was he not coming off the platform?
This is disgusting, but.
Hedge my bets.
My dear child, I could still use it. I've had my voice used without my permission. I think because of a social media following, people have gone and cloned my voice and that kind of thing, and I've managed to get stuff taken down. Normally through shaming the end company as opposed to the person that maybe has put it that way. And so it is an exhausting thing.
How did you find out about that?
Someone just shared it with me and was just like, is this your voice? Is this your thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it is. No, they don't have permission. Great.
Right.
Well, I did have a link that I can't find it. I was looking before to see where I put it, but I did see a link that said that there is, I've forgotten who was doing it, there's a push this year to change the regulations so that voices can't just be used freely. There has to be
regulation behind it.
Sure. I mean, But the thing is, for me personally, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but on a basic level, I don't understand why it's so complicated. Like, why is it such a wild west that people can go online, can take anybody's voice, put it into a machine, and now they can just use it as they wish? I mean,
like outside of the industry, just in like the real world, that, I mean, it's insane.
It's ridiculous. Like, how can that be? Like, well, we need to put. It's not that complicated. You are using somebody's voice without their permission in a way that they have not expressed any kind of desire to be a part of. So logic would say, well, you can't do it. And I've always argued the only time regulation probably will come in quicker is when it's the celebrities and the big IPs and they're losing money. Yeah. That's when they're like, oh, we need to do something about it. Like,
and normally they'll just settle privately instead. It's like...
Yeah. But I mean, they are doing it to celebrities, aren't they? It's just that it's not...
And they're
people
settling
aren't
with
losing
them privately.
Money. Yeah.
So there still has to be a test case for it to be like... Yeah. Okay, no, someone's actually willing to go, rather than reaching, a kind of like a secret, okay, actually agreement, it's fine, because the financial ramifications of actually taking someone to court, it's kind of a no-win situation for an individual. Unless you're like, yes, I will die on this hill as a test case and run out of money and bankrupt myself and my family, just in case. So that there is necessarily that kind of tension. But I would say that like having absolutely no association with an AI voice now is probably going to be more of a positive than a negative thing of like, sure, there may be some big companies who go like, oh yes, an AI version of your voice would be really useful for X, Y, or Z kind of like reason, like on an individual test case. Like I auditioned for, was it Gemini to be one of the default kind of voices, and I feel of it as being a kind of like a blessing and a curse, because it's like, yes, it's a lot of money, but it's not anywhere close to kind of like, oh, that will mean I could retire. Yeah. It means I could maybe not work for a year.
Yeah.
So it's not enough. So it's finding again those other ways of the human connection, the associations that need to be the thing rather than just the voice. That's
all the experience that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I know we have to go, so I'll make it brief. But yeah, I do think that, I totally agree with that. And I think as we move into a different territory now, I mean, look at like TikTok Shop is like this ginormous thing that's exploding, and it's people like, it's like live shopping like QVC but on TikTok. Yeah. And again, it's because of the human interaction. So I think whilst AI obviously is not going anywhere and it's going to come form more part of our lives in how we consume content, etc., I do generally think there is. Like, it's like with you, Chris, with your performances. People, this younger generation growing up, don't really know much better than AI voices because they've just heard it on social media apps.
No, it's fine.
But then suddenly they'll hear you do performance and go, wow, I felt that. And that's the difference. It's like, is this what we're missing out on? Because I prefer that.
Yeah,
there's a slight shift.
Yeah, and I think things do come first circled. I mean, there's lots of people talking about like going non-digital, or you're putting away your phones for the year, and I don't have a smartphone anymore, or anything else like that. So I think again, hence why the kind of it has to be quality over quantity in terms of all of your marketing efforts as well. The whole there are still people out there going, yes, you should be emailing 1,000 people a day, but it's fine because it's automated, and it's just how much shit can you throw at a wall before something sticks? And it's like, well, maybe one day for one guy that worked, great, sure, but now I think increasingly that's not going to do anything. That's not going to move the needle. Certainly not consistently. Certainly not for a sustained acting career. It's placing yourselves, just as the One Voice, the One Voice conference, scrapped the voiceover for voice acting. That was a very intentional kind of like move.
Of course, and
I get it. That's where the emphasis really has to be. That doesn't mean that everybody needs to be declaiming Shakespeare and everybody needs to be passionately moving into video games and voice acting, but they need to be very clear about what it is that they are offering, which is innately human, and whether or not that's in their performance, and whether or not that's also in what they're known for outside their platforms, and why people get enthused about being associated with those things at the same time. So you're kind of like, coming at it from both angles.
I feel like we've literally just scratched the surface, Chris, but I am very conscious of time. Put them aside, Michael. We'll have to do it another time. I just want to know before we let you go, Chris, like, what's next, though? Like, what are you thinking? What's What next thing you're going to conquer?
Nice lie down.
Sure.
I mean, it is also one of the other things that I would say that's odd about audiobooks is that you do get scheduled in.
Yeah.
So I know kind of what I'm doing until the first week of April, which is really weird.
Right. Yeah.
And I know people who know until the end of this year already. Like, these are the books that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm working on in that respect with the audiobooks. There are a couple of other projects which I'll be excited to see if they happen and in what way that they happen. I mean, last year
Can you say which genre those are in?
One or two video games.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I was like, I'm a lead in a AAA video game. Finally, I've done 12 sessions. There are another 20 and that recast. And that was because the guy's helmet suddenly came up and he was like, this guy's 60 years old. Fuck. So that was like, but I'm still a number of very killable NPCs in the game, so there is that. And some also kind of more kind of content creation things tangentially, I suppose as well, looking at kind of collaborations. So like, yeah, there are a couple of channels that I'm going to be helping out with.
Oh, cool.
And so that's exciting. But otherwise, your guess is as good as mine. Like 18 months ago, I hadn't recorded an audiobook and I swore that I never would. So I want to kind of like remain open and see how things kind of go. It's just coming to terms, being at peace with the process, which is the most difficult thing for, I think, all of us. I like at the end of last year, potentially, I've got a wonderful voice agent in Emily from VoiceFox, and I got a bit kind of like overwhelmed of like I'm not enjoying the opportunity to act because I felt there's always. As soon as you get the agent, it's like, yeah, but I'm not booking for the agent. Oh, fucking hell. Like, I can't win. Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
And, last year was a good year in that respect. But, like, I had some big opportunities and then had the games where you go, like, I'm fucking made for this. This is great. One where they were like, we specifically requested Chris Tester to audition for it. Yeah. Fucking tumbleweed. Absolutely not. No, not even on a recall stage. Fantastic. What did I do wrong? And at that stage, it did come to a point where it's like, I'm so focused on the end result as opposed to the, how can I, the process and making it good and making it healthy. And so the last couple of months have been trying to reclaim that a bit. And what the wonderful Neil Newbon said, I think other actors have said before, but on one podcast he was saying, like, he thinks of his audition, it's not the job, but it's that's his opportunity to play the character.
Yeah.
Okay, so the main focus is kind of like, even if the only opportunity I get to play this character or read this extract or whatever it is, this is it. This is my opportunity to show what I would do. It's kind of doing that on your own terms rather than the whole, but what do they want?
Yeah,
what do they want? How can I second guess? Because that way madness lies. So that's a very long answer to I have no idea what's going on. Really.
It was a great answer.
Yeah.
It was a great answer. Listen, Chris, thank you.
Oh, no, absolute pleasure, guys.
This was, we said before we started, for those that are listening, like for this season, we really wanted to try and come away from structured episodes and like, it's not about casting. We just wanted to have chats, conversations, see where it takes us. And I genuinely feel we hit the nail on the head with that. So thank you for that, because I thoroughly enjoyed the ebbs and flows of the conversation and just going down different avenues. And it was really interesting to learn some stuff as well. So yeah, loved it.
Well, lovely to see you.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you. Are you either of you both? Well, Jen, I know you're going to One Voice. What about you, Michael? Have you decided, or are you? You got to wait till the nominations, darling, and then be like.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of We'll see. I sort of dived into the nomination, the award thing at the last minute, so I was going to swerve it, but I've given it a go. If I get nominated, maybe. We'll see. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not quite sure because obviously, I don't know. There's variable factors. There's a few different things. Maybe we'll see.
Wow. Okay. On an extremely awkward note.
such an international man of mystery.
It's just because Steph's birthday always falls on that weekend.
Oh, okay,
She's
right.
not as bothered about
You should have
going.
left it. Leave the mystery.
Sorry.
Yeah.
People can make up like the spy. You've got a
There's
mission.
more to it, but I will leave it there.
There's more than voiceover. That's what I'm saying. Okay, right, sure.
Thanks again, Chris. Really
listen,
appreciate
thanks very
it.
much for sticking with us, folks. Chris, thanks again very, very much. And folks, we'll see you. Well,
I'll definitely keep that in, Michael. I can tell you that much.
We'll
And this
see
is
you
why we
before
finish
won't.
early.
Yeah. Right, I'll leave it there. Cheers, folks.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.